If you've not watched my Magic with YouTubers video that I uploaded last week, stop watching this. Well, you can come back to this or finish watching this, but go and watch that because I spent a heck of a lot of time on it and you guys seem to have really enjoyed it. A couple of months ago, I was doing street shows and I royally screwed up a trick in my street show, which was incredibly awkward. So naturally, I went to Snapchat, subtle plug, and I told the story of how this trick had gone wrong. I got a really nice response from a magician saying that they watched my stuff and it was really nice to know that I occasionally messed up magic as well because it made them feel better about messing up and, you know, we're all human. I replied with something like, oh my god, yes, I've had some terrible screw-ups. So I thought, why not, just to damage my own credibility as a competent performer, make a video sharing my top 5 biggest screw-ups when performing magic. Number 3 will make you cringe. I'm going to tell you these 5 stories in reverse order, so starting with the least bad all the way to the really terribly cringy one. And then after that I'm going to go over a few things that I've learned from those experiences so that the magicians watching can learn something as well and the non-magicians can just cringe at my failures. Sound good? Good. And let's start things off with number 5. I managed to screw up a trick on my friend Hannah Witten's radio show. Basically, I was doing the radio show and I thought, I'll prepare a trick just in case she asked me to do something. We hadn't talked about the idea of me doing magic, but then towards the end of the show, she was like, can you do something on radio? And I was like, yes, I can. I have a prediction over here of a playing card that I think that she's gonna name. So I go through the process and I do the trick a little bit differently to how I normally do it. I start off by giving her a card and I get her to change the value of the card a couple of times over until she's got a card she's really happy with. And then I show my prediction of the card and I have it wrong. The annoying thing about me getting it wrong is that I just had chosen the wrong card. Like I had taken out my prediction and I just got my own prediction wrong. I knew what I wanted to go with and I went with a different one without realising I'd done that. Does that make sense? You could have named any card.
Wait, do it in the... Here. Wait, there's the 3 of clubs. Ah! Did you f*** it? Magic, guys! This is how it works.
You know...
I wish I had like a jingle for like...
Okay.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, I know, right? But if messing up a trick live on radio isn't cringy enough for you, well, let's move on to number 4, the time that I messed up the finale of my act in the finals of a magic competition. I used to perform this trick a lot where I got somebody on stage, I handed them a sketch pad, and we each had to draw a picture while standing back to back. The idea was that you then turn around the pictures dramatically and they match. This is a really cool trick, and the times that it's gone right, I find the audiences really love it, and it's one of those ones where people talk to me after the show about and they're like, how on earth did that work? Well, this time it didn't work. It's the finals of my competition act. We've both drawn a picture, we're holding them at our chests, and then on the count of 3, we dramatically reveal them to the audience, and they don't match. And at first, I don't see their picture because we just show them to the crowd, so it's normally the crowd going, oh, that lets me know I did it right. And in this case, there was just an awkward silence, and one person going, well, they're kind of right. And it was it was terrible. I did not win the competition. Just had to go, whoop, sorry, didn't work, thank you, goodbye, and walk off the stage. All right, this is painful. At number 3, we have a very similar story, but this one kind of hurts me a little bit more. I used to be a member of the Young Magicians Club, which is like a little splinter group from the Magic Circle, which is a very famous magic society in the UK. It's based in London, and at the time, I was based very north in England, so I couldn't really attend any of the club meetings or anything like that. I mainly just participated online on a little forum and just chatted away there with other young magicians. But my very lovely and supportive parents made the trip with me every year to take me there to audition for the close-up competition. And the idea was, if I got through to the finals of the close-up competition, I get to go back the next month for the J Day, the Junior Day, and perform on the stage and try and win this competition. And I think there's nothing that mattered more to me at that age than trying to win that competition. Every year I'd enter, sometimes I'd get through to the finals, sometimes I wouldn't. I never won. So one year, I worked really hard on my act, and I'm really proud of it, really pleased with it. We go down for the auditions, and I go out and I perform my opening trick. The trick I was doing involved me holding up loads of cards with different writing on them, basically narrating the trick for me whilst I didn't say anything. And the kicker, the reveal at the end of the trick was the card that the person chose throughout the trick ends up being folded up inside my mouth. You know what's coming? Someone names a card, I take out the folded card from my mouth, unfold it and show it's the wrong card. Bear in mind, I practiced loads for this, and my family and I travelled 5 hours for me to go and enter this competition. And I just froze. I didn't know what to do. So I really awkwardly just said, look, I've messed up. Do you mind if I just start again? The judges sort of awkwardly like, okay, yeah, you can go back. We'll have someone else come on. You can come on in a second. So the next person came on, and I remember all the other young magicians at the back going, don't worry, man, it's okay. I really love the routine. You'll nail it, it'll be fine. I go out again, and I do the act, and it goes right, and everything in the act goes super well, and I was super happy because I really had done a good job. And a few weeks later, I got a phone call from the judge letting me know whether or not I got through to the finals. And she basically said that my act that I did then was one of the best acts they've had in the close-up competition, but they couldn't put me through because I had a false start, and it would sort of encourage I guess, the wrong mindset. Like, every magician could walk out there, mess up, and then go and have a second attempt. It is not really fair. So because of that, I didn't get through to the finals, and I never won the Young Magicians Club close-up competition, ever. Bringing back all my sad memories right now, guys. You better be appreciating this video. At number 2, we have the worst moment I've had when performing personally. This didn't make it to the number 1 spot because I don't feel like this was entirely my fault, although it definitely was largely my fault. I was performing a street show, and it was a Saturday night, and there was a lot of drunk people around, a lot of rowdy lads, #lads, people just causing all the banter and mischief. Every now and again in my show, I'll have a heckler or a group of hecklers, and I'll normally find it very hard to deal with them because of my character and how I perform, it's difficult for me to really get them to stop. I have a little procedure that I go through when I have a heckler to try and stop them heckling, and it goes like this. First of all, I'll ignore them for a while and see if they just naturally stop. And then if they don't, I'll sort of give them a little bit of attention, and often I find that if you just give them a little bit of attention, a little bit of the spotlight, that's what they're after, then they'll calm down. Now, in some scenarios, the person will just be really, really annoying, and they will not stop, and they're deliberately causing chaos. If that happens, like this is the worst case scenario, I'll then sort of drop any kind of persona, drop any kind of performance attitude, speak to them directly and say, hey look, I know you're having fun and you're having a good time, but I'm trying to do a show right now and it's kind of disruptive. Would you mind just sort of bringing the energy levels down a bit? Is that okay? And often people will then realise, oh, I pushed it a bit too far, and they'll be nice and they'll be chilled out for the rest of the show. Occasionally, if we've gone through all those options, which 9 times out of 10 chills out the heckler, you'll still have someone that's deliberately trying to ruin the show. And when I say hecklers, I don't just mean people that are joining in and shouting stuff. I mean people that are physically getting in the way, dancing in the middle of the show, or trying to knock my stuff over. Like, stuff like that happens in the street. So in this case, a few guys walk in the middle of my show and start doing a little bit of a dance. I give them a little bit of attention, I make a little bit of a joke with them, and then they walk off, and I think I'm good. But then they come on again, and they start dancing again, and I ask them nicely to leave, they leave, and then later they came on one more time, and they start messing around and really being really disruptive to the point where it's ruining the show. At this point, I made my crucial error. Sometimes, when I'm performing, if the heckler will not stop, I find if I make a joke about them to the audience, it does shut them up. And my go-to mean joke that I make about the heckler is, wow, 100 million sperm, and this guy was the fastest. Often that gets a big laugh from the audience, and if it doesn't stop the heckler, at least means that I got a laugh from the situation. A couple of reasons why this usually works is that you're not making the joke to the heckler, you're making the joke about the heckler to the audience. So you're depriving them of the attention they want, but you're getting a laugh sort of at their expense, and often that will, you know, make them quiet down. You can only do this when the audience absolutely hates the heckler. If you make a joke at their expense before the audience has really annoyed at them, then you just look like an arsehole. Which has happened before when I've misjudged the situation. This heckler goes off stage and I think, yeah, finally worked, finally got him. And then, as I'm doing my show, he runs round behind me, like grabs me or like squeezes me in some way, and then rips the microphone off my ear and runs off. This sucked for a couple of reasons. Firstly, that was a really expensive microphone that he nicked off with, and I could either chase him and inevitably not catch him and then lose my audience, or I could stay where I was and try and sort of maintain some kind of control, not lose the crowd, and hopefully one of my friends would get the mic back. Luckily for me, a load of my street performer friends immediately went after that guy, then the police came over straight away, I managed to get the mic off, he ran away, and that was that. And just to stress, I really err on the side of caution when I make jokes that are sort of put people down, because I don't like doing that. I will only do a joke like that if it is, you know, everything else hasn't worked and I'm getting nothing from this guy in terms of cooperation. Alright then, number 1, the biggest magic screw up that I've had. This is the story I Snapchatted about a couple of months ago, so some of you will have heard about this already. I was performing my street show, and the ending of my street show, spoilers, involves me making a card vanish that someone's chosen and appear inside a lemon. So I cut open the lemon with the knife, open it up, and you can see the card sticking out. They can take it out and it's their card. It's one of my favourite tricks to do, and I performed it literally hundreds, if not over 1,000 times, I imagine. That is a lot of lemons. And also, because it's the ending of my street show, I really build up this moment. I really build up the moment before I cut open the lemon. I literally talk like this. We had a card chosen. We ripped a piece off that card. It vanished inside the lemon. Blah, 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 blah. I then go on about the hat speech, which is when you ask the audience to tip you at the end of the show. Loads of build up for this moment. Hold up the lemon. Hold up the knife. Cut into the lemon. Slowly cut around the lemon. Drop the knife. Show my hands empty. Open up the lemon, and inside is nothing. It literally vanished. I then look at the lemon and I'm like, where's the card? Is it gone a little bit further in the lemon? And it's literally not there. 2 lemons are involved in the show, so I pick up the other one. I know it's not inside there. I know it wasn't, but had to just awkwardly cut open this lemon and check. Nope, no card in there. Whole audience in front of me, finale of the show. I'm still on mic, turn around, look at the only other performer in the queue at the time and just go, mate, I've just messed up my finale in front of all these people and I've got no way of getting out of it. Don't know what to do. I'm kind of laughing to myself at this point. I then turn around to the audience and say, Guys, you know when a magician does a trick and it goes wrong and then it's magically resolved in the end and it was all part of the show? This isn't one of those times. I totally messed up my finale. I'm really sorry. Thanks very much to my volunteer for helping out. Give her a huge round of applause. I'm gonna hold up my hat anyway, and thanks very much. It was so painful. So some people still came forward and put money in my hat, which was really nice. One guy came over, put some money in my hat and just went, that was terrible. I just didn't know. Oh, it was so bad. Now we're going to talk about some of the lessons I've learned from those things going wrong. Before we get to that, if you're not following me on Snapchat and Instagram and you would like to be the first to know when I mess up live, I will inevitably talk about it on those mediums. Follow me on that. It actually helps me out a lot when I work with brands, trying to make YouTube my job. If they see I have an audience on those platforms, they're more likely to work with me, which is great. Also, I really like attention, so if you just want to validate my ego, that'd be lovely. Oh, I made some notes about things I learned. Let's see what I had. Do you like my YouTube sticker, by the way? It's cool, isn't it? Password that I recently changed and constantly typing in wrong. Damn it. Annoyingly, I realised, looking through my notes here, that the lessons I've learned, I really should have learned them a long time ago because I've consistently made the same mistakes throughout my magical career. I realised that a lot of the things that went wrong are because I didn't have a backup plan. Things are inevitably going to go wrong. You can do the same trick 1,000 times and every now and again, you're just going to mess it up because you're human and people make mistakes. I've got a mind reader friend called Peter Antonio. He's really good at planning for every single possible scenario that could go wrong. And if you plan for those things, it means that you can deal with it when it happens. Whereas a lot of the times in these stories, I had a finale planned and I didn't have a backup if it did go wrong, which is my own fault. In some of these cases, the reason that the trick went wrong is because I had sort of a momentary distraction when I was doing something that broke my standard pattern. When you're so used to doing something, you're on autopilot to do it, but if someone interrupts you at that moment or if someone shouts something out, it can mess with that sort of procedure. And then when you go back to it, you might have skipped out a step or something like that, and it can mess up what you're doing. I think the lesson to be learned there is that whenever something different happens in your environment or something changes that affects the way the trick normally goes, you should really concentrate and make sure that you're doing every single step that you need to make the trick work. Otherwise, you might have skipped something out that you normally would never have skipped out. I really think that one of the main takeaways from this is how you should act when you make a mistake, and just your attitude towards that will greatly affect everything else. If you mess up in a performance, and you treat it like it was a huge deal, the audience will, and then it will feel really awkward. If you laugh it off, it will go a lot smoother. Even in this competition where my opening trick went wrong, if I just laughed it off, the audience wouldn't have felt so awkward, and I might have even made it through to the finals. But because I froze up in sheer panic, that feeling translates across to the audience, they feel awkward, and it's just a really awkward moment. If I'd laughed it off, it's alright, it's not too bad. As an entertainer, my job is to entertain the audience. And as I'd like to do that with good magic that goes right, if magic goes wrong, I still should be trying to entertain the audience. So you've got to sort of keep that positive attitude when you're performing, I think. And I guess the last lesson that I've learned is just to be very, very careful when dealing with hecklers and realising that if you make a joke that puts them down, that might backfire, especially if you're on the street and they're drunk. Thank you! If you haven't watched Magic with YouTubers yet, please go and click on that video and watch it now. I spent a long time on it and a lot of people really enjoyed it. It's 20 minutes long of fun, magic-y banter, fun times. So go watch that now. Thank you and goodbye.